Hello, hockey fans. Austin here with a playoff preview video. It's a little bit different than my usual videos, of course. As an Oilers fan, an unashamed Oilers homer, I usually focus on just Oilers content, but I know that there are a lot of you out there that want to hear my opinions on other teams. You want to see me, expand my content a little bit, and I'm going to be doing that today. So in today's preview video, we're going to be going over every single playoff series, the first round, that is. I should call this a first round playoff preview video, and of course I will be giving my predictions. Now, how this is going to work, I am going to go over the player stats on both teams for the season for each preview, and then I will go over some of the advanced stats, kind of talk about each team, where I think they are, why I think one team is going to beat the other, and then of course I will have my 7-game prediction is what that's called. So if you end up enjoying today's video, if this is something that you want to see more of course smash that like button. And as always, for anyone that is ever doing playoff predictions, make sure to bookmark this, because I'm probably going to look very silly with some of the predictions. I've got some spicy takes that I think a lot of you at home are going to be shaking your head at. You're going to be like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? I thought he was trying to be, smart with analytics, and you know what? Let's just get into it. Our first preview is going to be the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals. So, Montreal and Washington, the Capitals this season were 51-22-9. They had the best record in the Eastern Conference. And the Montreal Canadiens, Les Habs de Montréal, they barely snuck in. They went on a bit of a run towards the end of the season after the Four Nations, and the kids are just having fun in Montreal. The fans are just going crazy, and if you look at their season series head-to-head matchup, Washington won 2 of the 3 games. Of course, their last meeting was back in January, so it has been quite a while for the Washington Capitals and the Montreal Canadiens here. If you take a look at the goaltending stats, Washington, they had been doing very well in that department until the last couple of weeks. If you look at their last 10 games played, Montreal 7-1-2, Washington 4-6, and Washington, they've been giving up a ton of goals because their starting goaltender, who's been instrumental in their success this season, has been injured for a little while. Now, I don't know what the status of his game is going to be by game 1. However, if he's ready to go, obviously that is a huge boost to Washington. I know he's been skating, so we'll see if he ends up playing. And if you take a look at the scoring leaders for the Montreal Canadiens, Nick Suzuki led the way with 30 goals, 89 points. Cole Caulfield, there was a lot of talk about him maybe hitting 40 goals this season. He has had a terrific year for Montreal. Slavkovsky started the year off very, very slow, but he had a great second half to finish things off. Brendan Gallagher rejuvenated this season, 21 goals for Gally, and you love to see that. And Montreal has some pretty good depth. Patrick Laine scored 20 goals for them, mostly on the power play. I think, it does say 15 goals on the power play, so don't look for Laine to be a 5-on-5 contributor to this team. Josh Anderson had 15 goals. Love to see that. But look how many players scored at least 10 goals for Montreal from their forward group. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of their forwards, 12 of their regular forwards, I should say. And that's a real good sign. Kirby Dack obviously has been hurt. He's minus 29 this season. Yikers. If you look at their defense, this is where the big difference is for Montreal. Lane Hudson, his rookie year, 66 points in 82 games. That is unbelievable. He doesn't throw the puck on net super often, only 91 shots on goal. He is a playmaker. He utilizes his foot speed very well, and he moves that puck. 66 points for him as a rookie. Matheson at 31 points, Carrier 25. And if you look at Sam Montembeault, their starting goaltender, a .902 save percentage and a .282 goals against. Now, looking over at the Washington Capitals, Alex Ovechkin led the way in the goal scoring department, and he also set the all-time NHL record for goals ever. He beat Wayne Gretzky's record this season. And for Washington, it really feels like since Ovechkin beat that milestone, the team has kind of hit a bit of a lull here. They've kind of slowed down a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's representative of the team that did everything they could to put all their energy into Ovi getting the record, and then after they got it, there's not a whole lot left to play for. They basically had first place locked up in the East anyways. They were the first team to clinch a playoff spot, so it's an interesting dynamic to look at if you're a Washington Capital or a Capitals fan. Of course, Ovechkin finished the year with 73 points in 65 games. Oh, yeah, by the way, he's 37 years old. So the ageless wonder in Alex Ovechkin. Dylan Strome, though, career year, 82 points this season. He led the team in scoring. Alexei Protas was a plus 40 for the Washington Capitals. He had 30 goals. That's unbelievable, actually. And no goals on the power play. He had 30 goals and not a single goal on the power play. Protas, of course, probably has a bit of an unsustainable shooting percentage. Pierre-Luc Dubois, there's always been that kind of narrative around him. Is he a locker room cancer? But he has fit in so nicely with Washington. They've embraced him. He has embraced the team, and they've gotten a lot out of him this season. And look at Tom Wilson. What a year for Tom Wilson. 33 goals for the power forward. He had 100 penalty minutes this season. What a monster. Connor McMichael, the second best Connor Mick. Of course, you have Connor McDavid, Connor McMichael. And then if you take a look at their defensive group, John Carlson, 51 points, a plus 17 rating. Chychrun, 47 points for Washington. 20 goals for Jacob Chychrun. Did not realize that. And then, of course, their goaltending, Logan Thompson, a 910 save percentage, and only a 249 goals against. If you look at Lindgren, respectable numbers, not great, not terrible. But when it comes to the goaltending situation, Washington is going to win this series if Thompson is playing like he did in the regular season. Now let's get into some of the deeper stats here. The Washington Capitals, they were 13th on the power play. They were 5th on the penalty kill, 2nd in goals per game, 8th in goals against per game. They had the 12th best expected goals percentage in all situations. Their team shooting percentage was number 1. As a team, they shot 12.62%. It seems like everything was going in the net for them, and that really inflated their PDO. Now, what is PDO? If you're tuning in and you're not quite sure what that means, that is essentially team shooting percentage plus save percentage. So if a team has a save percentage of 900 and a team shooting percentage of 10%, that would be a PDO of 1. You want to be in the 1.00 range. If you are under that, generally that means you were considered an unlucky team. And if you were over that number, you were considered a lucky team. It's just kind of an advanced way to look at what team might be due to regress and what team might be due to go on a bit of a run. You know, there's regression to the mean up and down. For Washington, because their PDO was significantly higher than a 1.00, 102 is actually pretty high. I look at these two teams here. We'll take a look at Montreal, and then I'll talk about the rest of the advanced stats. I got to get my thoughts straight. Montreal, they were 21st on the power play, 9th on the penalty kill, 17th in goals for, 22nd in goals against, 29th in expected goals for percentage. They were 7th in team shooting percentage and 9th in PDO. Now, if you take a look at Montreal, their PDO is right where you kind of want it to be. What Montreal is who they are. Like, that basically shows that they are not a lucky or unlucky team. However, if you look at their expected goals percentage, 29th in the NHL, the Montreal Canadiens do not generate a large sample of high danger chances. They are not the ones that are controlling the puck the most during hockey games. Now, this is a generalized look at the team. This does not mean that Montreal is a bad team, but when you take a look at some of the advanced stats, it does show that Montreal is relying a little bit too heavily on their goaltending and a little bit too heavily on some special teams. And of course, that team shooting percentage is also pretty high. So it's a very interesting dynamic for Montreal. Can they sustain their current situation? If you look at their goals for and goals against, this was a team with a negative goal differential. And there has never been a team with a negative goal differential make a run to the Stanley Cup final and win the whole thing. It has never happened in the NHL. And I can't see it happening this year. I could be proven wrong. Watch Montreal prove me wrong and go on this incredible run. But when I look at these two teams, obviously you have David versus Goliath here. Goliath, of course, the Washington Capitals. They have ridden a high all season long. This is a team that retooled on the fly. A lot of people had them maybe being a wild card team, maybe missing the playoffs. I definitely did not have them anywhere near tops in the Eastern Conference, even though they had, good pieces. I thought the Pierre-Luc Dubois situation was going to be kind of an issue, but Washington all season long has proven people wrong. And for the Montreal Canadiens, they have a group of young talent. They have a young coach, relatively young coach with Martin St. Louis. They have a team that is just happy to be here. They are riding that wave of youth They are inexperienced. There's only 6 players on this current Montreal team that was on their 2021 Cup Finals team. So there's been a lot of turnover over the past 3 seasons for the Montreal Canadiens. And again, like I said, they are just a young group here to have fun, happy to be here. And can they put up a fight against Washington? My argument today is against Washington. Sorry, Caps fans, you're not going to want to hear this. I do think Washington's team shooting percentage is unsustainable. I think their PDO is unsustainable. I think Logan Thompson's play, as good as it's been, nothing for the Washington Capitals screams that they are they are what I would consider to be a monster in the sense of a cup contender. Everything stat-wise shows that they are a good team. But I don't think that they're a great team. And I do think that after Ovechkin got the goal record, I think mentally the team is starting to slow down a little bit. And that is why my 7-game series prediction, I am going with David, the underdog against Goliath. I am predicting the Habs in 6. Now, this is an outrageous prediction. This likely does not happen. Washington, the percentages say that they will knock off Montreal. But I'm taking a look at this from a couple different angles, some of it analytics, some of it just kind of my own feeling, and I also love an underdog story. So, Habs in 6 is my prediction. Let me know what your prediction is in the comment section below for that series as we move on to the next series that I want to look at, the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Florida Panthers, and it's going to be a doozy. Alrighty, so as I mentioned, next up is the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. If you take a look at their season series against each other, they each won 2 games, and this is going to be an absolute bloodbath of a series. They met last year in the first round, and Florida took Tampa Bay out, and that was also led by Sergei Bobrovsky, who had probably the save of the entire playoffs against Tampa. If anyone remembers, he did that spin dive kind of behind the back, threw his body at the puck with an open net. It was an unbelievable save. I wish I could show it here for you. I'm sure you all remember which one it was. But taking a look at these 2 teams, if you look at their last 10 games, Florida kind of limping into the playoffs. They only won 3 of their last 10 games, but they were resting guys. They have some injuries that they've been dealing with. And for Florida, there's question marks. Is Matthew Tkachuk going to be good to go? Is he going to be ready for game 1? Because if he's not, that is obviously a huge loss for them. They will not beat Tampa without players like Matthew Tkachuk. He is a game breaker. He can control a game and take over at will. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, they went into the playoffs here on a 5-2-3 run in their last 10 games, led by, of course, Nikita Kucherov, who will likely be a Hart candidate. It would be hard to, vote against him. I do have my own opinions about that, but Nikita Kucherov put up another terrific season. This is another Art Ross trophy for him. 84 assists, 121 points, an unbelievable season for the Russian. And, I personally don't like Kucherov, but I have to acknowledge a terrific season when I see one. But I think someone who arguably had an even more impressive season is Brandon Hagel, the Canadian, the 4 Nations Cup winner. Brandon Hagel scored 35 goals this season and 0 on the power play. I talked about Alexei Protas on the Washington Capitals with 30 goals with 0 on the power play. Brandon Hagel actually set an NHL record for most goals scored in a season without having a single power play goal at 35. That's unbelievable. Good for him. Braden Point, 42 goals. Jake Gensel, 41 goals. If you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, they have scored a ton of goals this season. They actually lead the league in goals for. They have had a terrific year when it comes to the offense department. And if you take a look at their defensemen, look at Victor Hedman. 15 goals, 66 points. He has had an absolute resurgence of a season after kind of looking like maybe he was in the twilight of his career. He's going to slow down. Nope. He found the fountain of youth this season. It's actually kind of strange seeing a lot of players in their 30s this year seem to find that extra gear that we haven't seen in a while. So Victor Hedman, terrific year for him. Darren Radish, 37 points. Ryan McDonough, again, another player found the fountain of youth this season, a +43 rating. That leads the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that is one of the tops in the entire NHL. Great for Ryan McDonough. And of course, in goal, they have Andrei Vasilevsky, a generational talent that would get a lot more flowers if it weren't for Connor Hellebuyck kind of keeping Vasilevsky in the shadows. Just a teensy-beensy amount. But Vasilevsky, 38 wins this season, a .921 save percentage, .218 goals against average. And if you take a look at the Florida Panthers, Sam Reinhart, another terrific season, almost hit the 40-goal plateau. Last year, he was over 50 goals. This year, bit of regression. That was kind of expected. I think most Panthers fans watching would agree with that. Barkov had 71 points. He will likely be the Selke nominee and the Selke winner this season. Matthew Tkachuk, before his injury, was over a point per game. Carter Verhaeghe, a 20-goal season. And there's a lot of minuses on this team, though. Sam Bennett, 25 goals, 51 points, but a -15. The Florida Panthers are an interesting team because even though they have a lot of, talent up front, they score a lot, they give up a lot too. Not like a super duper amount, because I do think that Bobrovsky had a good year for them, a .906 save percentage, .244 goals against. Vitek Vanacek, he is their backup because the Florida Panthers made a strange decision at the trade deadline to trade Spencer Knight to the Chicago Blackhawks in a deal that included Seth Jones. Now, Seth Jones automatically slots into the top pair for Florida. So if you take a look at that -24, that's not indicative of his play with Florida. Most of his plus-minus came from a very bad Chicago Blackhawks team. They still have Gustav Forsling, great defenseman. Nico Mikkola, one of the best defensive defensemen in the entire NHL. Kulikov's had a good year. Nate Schmidt, he's pretty solid back there. The Florida Panthers, as a team, they do play a very strong forechecking style. They hit you. They make you uncomfortable. They force you, if you're a defender, you have no time and space to breathe out there. Now, when we take a look at the stats here for both teams, Florida ranked 13th in power play. They ranked 10th on the penalty kill, 15th in goals per game. They ranked 7th in goals against per game. They ranked 2nd in expected goals percentage in all situations, 28th in team shooting percentage, and 25th in PDO. So, for the Florida Panthers, they generally control play, especially at 5-on-5. Their expected goals percentage is second best in the entire NHL, only behind the Carolina Hurricanes, but that team shooting percentage is much lower than expected, and their PDO also reflects that. This is a team that if you're if you do bet, I don't bet. I personally hate betting ads. I don't like the gambling sites. That's not who I am. But if you're if you're a person that is betting on a team finding a way to regress back up to the mean, regress positively, I would be looking at this Florida Panthers team to do that, especially if they get a guy like Matthew Tkachuk back in the lineup. Now, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they were 5th on the power play this year, 6th on the penalty kill, 1st in goals per game, 4th in goals against per game. They ranked 6th in expected goals, 2nd in team shooting percentage, and 2nd in PDO. The only team with a higher PDO than Tampa Bay is the Winnipeg Jets, and that PDO is high. For Tampa Bay, a 103.1 PDO is exceptionally high, and their team shooting percentage, 12.47%, that is outrageous. That is almost as high as the Washington Capitals. There is going to be regression somewhere with Tampa. Is the regression going to come from their goaltending, or is it going to come from the forwards not being able to put a puck past Bobrovsky as easily as they've been able to do throughout the rest of the year? When it comes to the playoffs, defensive hockey becomes kind of the main focus of teams. It's a lot harder to find that time and space in shooting areas. And for Florida, they're already a good 5-on-5 team. And Tampa, of course, they have finishing talent. When I talk about a team with a high shooting percentage as a negative, I'm not saying that the team is bad. What I'm saying is it's just unsustainable for a long period of time, especially after the regular season ends. Being able to sustain that type of play into the playoffs, it is a very difficult ask. But Tampa Bay, they have great talent. Their shooting percentage is so high because their players are so good. So don't take it the wrong way when I point a high shooting percentage as a bad thing. I'm just someone that looks at this from a numbers perspective sometimes. I take a look at Tampa. I look at their shooting percentage. I look at their expected goals. I look at their PDO. Red flag city. This is a team that is going to regress. And my series prediction here, sorry, Tampa Bay fans, you're going to hate me. I am actually going to go Panthers in 7. I do think the Florida Panthers are going to win the series. I actually do think it's going to go the distance. I picked Montreal in 6 over Washington. I think this series is going to go the full 7. I think it is going to be an absolute bloodbath. It is going to be physical. It is going to be mean. It is going to be high scoring. It is going to be exciting hockey. This is one of the series that I'm most looking forward to watching as a fan. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as we get into our next series prediction from the Eastern Conference, the Carolina Hurricanes versus the New Jersey Devils. So next up, we have the Carolina Hurricanes against the New Jersey Devils, and I think this series is pretty underrated. I don't see a lot of people talking about it. I think a lot of people think that the Carolina Hurricanes are going to kind of roll over the New Jersey Devils. The Devils, of course, have dealt with a lot of injury issues. They're missing some very key players heading into the playoffs. So the question for New Jersey is, can they handle the Carolina Hurricanes forecheck? Can they handle the Carolina Hurricanes speed in the neutral zone? And we're going to talk about it. If we take a look at their season series this year, they each won 2 games against each other. Carolina, then New Jersey, then Carolina, although they have not played each other since December 28th. So it's been quite a while since these two teams have stacked up against each other. If you take a look at the player stats for New Jersey, Jesper Bratt, he led the way with 88 points for the Devils. Jack Hughes injured, 70 points. Nico Hischier, 69 points. Very nice, 35 goals. Timo Meier, 53 points. New Jersey has a good team. They have a good team. This is a team where if they could just stay healthy, they are absolutely a team that I would be concerned about. The problem is, how healthy are they, and can they find a way to slow the Hurricanes down? Because the way Carolina plays is outrageously fast, and it is very hard to deal with. But the biggest issue for New Jersey has been how many defensemen they've had to utilize, because Dougie Hamilton, he's done for the year. He had 40 points in 64 games. He's one of their top pairing guys, top 4 guys, I should say, and they rely on him a lot. They rely on Luke Hughes a lot, and it's tough to see a guy like Hamilton continue to deal with these injuries because he is such an effective player. And if you take a look at the goaltending situation for New Jersey, Markstrom, 900 save percentage, 2.5 goals against, a very respectable season for Markstrom. Jake Allen had a 908 save percentage and a 266 goals against, but he was below 500 with his record because when they're utilizing Jake Allen, he doesn't get any run support. Does New Jersey have enough depth to sustain against the Hurricanes? When we take a look at Carolina, they do things by committee. They don't have a superstar producer the way some other teams do in the playoffs. And I think you need a superstar, an absolute game breaker to take over a game and, go on a long run. Most teams that win the Stanley Cup, not saying all, but most, have a game breaker. They have a top line guy. They have a guy that has scored 40 goals. They have someone, maybe an elite defenseman, maybe a goaltender that just stands on his head all the time. They have someone. The Carolina Hurricanes, they don't have that game breaker, and they are a team that rolls 4 lines. Rod Brind'Amour, Rod the Bod Brind'Amour, because he's in better shape than 90% of the players in the league. He coaches them well. And this is a team that, they generate a million chances every game. They just don't score as much as I think their chances are showing. If you take a look at their depth this season, Kotkaniemi, 12 goals. Mark Jankowski, 12 goals. What the heck? Where did this guy come from? Stankoven had 14 goals. I don't know what his stats were with Carolina. I'm sure there's like a split since he was traded from Dallas, but that's a great pickup for Carolina. He played with Dallas last season. Great young talent. Taylor Hall has actually played very well for the Hurricanes since they picked him up. Svechnikov, down year for him, only 20 goals. We'll see if he can pick it up a little bit once the playoffs begin. And if you take a look at the Carolina Hurricanes defense, they have Shane Gostisbehere. I bet a lot of us haven't heard that name in a while. That's one of those players that you forget was at one point highly touted as a very offensively gifted D-man. And then you didn't really hear much from him for a while, but he did lead the Carolina Hurricanes defensive core with 45 points. Brent Burns kept his Ironman streak alive at the end of the season. I think he played a 20-second shift and then just sat on the bench the rest of the game. Dmitry Orlov having a solid year for Carolina. Jacob Slavin, probably their best overall defenseman and maybe the most underrated D-man in the entire NHL. I absolutely love Slavin. And then when you take a look at Carolina's goaltending, this is the big question mark for them. They generate a ton of chances, and they do score usually over 3 goals per game. It's the goaltending that is a problem for Carolina. It's been a problem for quite a while for them. They've tried to address it a few times, and they just can't seem to find the right mix in that crease. What they do have going for them is Frederik Andersen is back. He is relatively healthy. If Kochetkov cannot handle the playoffs, if he struggles in game 1 and 2, they do have Freddie Andersen who can step in. He's been here before. He's gone on playoff runs before. Yes, he only had an .899 save percentage, but he did have a 2.5 goals against. Carolina, they are stingy. They don't give up a lot of shots. The problem is the shots that they give up, their goaltenders are not scoring. And as an Oilers fan, I know how that feels because their shot suppression is very strong. Now, when we take a look at the stats here on the screen, Carolina, they were 25th on the power play. That's another big concern for the Hurricanes. Can they get that power play going? That is something that for some reason, despite the talent and how often they are producing chances, they don't produce much on the power play, which is very strange because they have the personnel available. So I'm not sure what's going on. Hurricanes fans, let me know what's going on with that power play and why it always seems to struggle every year. Their penalty kill, though, another story. That ranks number 1 in the NHL. They score 3.24 goals per game, which ranks 9th. They rank 10th in goals against per game. Expected goals ranks number 1 in the NHL. Shooting percentage is 22nd, and PDO is 26th. So if you take a look at that expected goals for Carolina, it ranks number 1, but that PDO is 26th. So what is going to regress positively first? Is it going to be the shooting percentage or is it going to be the save percentage? At some point for Carolina, they've got to find a way to break through and go on a run, right? Like how many years has it been where we talk about Carolina supposedly being this cup contender? I'm someone that picks Carolina to go to the Stanley Cup final like every single year. I'm like, this is the year. They're an analytics darling. This team, for some reason, though, has not been able to put it together. They've had a couple conference final appearances under Rod Brind'Amour, and they were swept in both of them. Swept by Boston in 2019, swept by Florida in 2023. Let's see what Carolina has this year. And for New Jersey, they started off the season very strong, but as the injuries piled up, they definitely struggled in the second half of the year. They finished 5-5 in their last 10 games. They rank 3rd on the power play. This is a team that produces very well on the power play. Their penalty kill ranks 2nd. So again, Carolina's 1st, New Jersey's 2nd on the penalty kill. If these teams are getting power plays, I don't think we're going to see a lot of power play goals in this series. Goals per game ranks 20th for the Devils, but their goals against per game ranks 5th. They're a strong neutral zone and defending team. Expected goals ranks 7th, shooting percentage ranks 19th, and PDO ranks 13th. So for New Jersey, they are a good analytics team. Their PDO shows that they're right where they should be. They are not a lucky or an unlucky team. Right now, it comes down for New Jersey. Do they have the personnel that, do they have enough? Do they have enough to slow the Hurricanes down? Their goaltending is something that is better than Carolina's, but when it comes to producing offense, that's going to be the tricky part. And that's why I am going to go, in my prediction, I'm going to go with the Hurricanes in 6 games. Normally, if New Jersey was healthy, if the New Jersey Devils had a healthy team, if they had their defensive group healthy, if they had their forward group healthy, especially Jack Hughes, Dougie Hamilton, if New Jersey was healthier, I would absolutely say this series goes 7, and New Jersey might even have a slight edge when it comes to that. Because, again, Jack Hughes is a complete game breaker. He can take over games. But because of the situation with the Devils, because of how strong 5-on-5 play of the Carolina Hurricanes, I'm going Hurricanes in 6. However, who knows? We'll have to see, right? But this brings us to our final Eastern Conference preview for round 1 and the series that I am most looking forward to watching as an outside fan when it comes to watching the Eastern Conference. That is the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Ottawa Senators, the Battle of Ontario. Let's take a look. Well, here we go, folks. The last Eastern Conference preview, the Ottawa Senators against the Toronto Maple Leafs. The first Battle of Ontario since 2004, and that was when the Leafs actually went to the conference finals, I believe. I actually can't remember if the Leafs went to the conference finals in 2004 or not. Someone's going to have to fact check me on that, but I do know Toronto that year did beat out the Ottawa Senators. I think Patrick Lalime was Ottawa's goaltender. Don't ask how I remember any of that. I do remember being very young, about 10 years old during that series. I remember cheering for the Leafs back then. The Oilers, sadly, were not in the playoffs in the 03-04 season. But for Ottawa, they had a season that I think they've been expecting for a while. This is a team that I have pegged as a playoff team for several years, and their biggest issue, other than the coaching, they brought Travis Green in, and then obviously things have turned around under him. But one of their biggest issues has been goaltending, and they addressed that over the summer. They picked up Linus Ullmark from the Boston Bruins, gave him a big contract, and Linus Ullmark has he's done his job. He has given Ottawa a chance to win pretty much every single night. He started off a little bit slow, but he eventually picked his game up. And for Ottawa, that's huge. They just need a few saves because they do have pretty good offensive talent. If we look at the season series between these two teams, Ottawa won all 3 games, including the most recent matchup, which was a 4-2 Ottawa Senators win back in the middle of March. And Ottawa and Toronto all season, these games have been chippy. They've been defensive. Ottawa was barely hanging on in this game, by the way, the game on March 15th. I remember watching it. But it's been a terrific series throughout the entire season. I think both fan bases are looking forward to this. For the Toronto Maple Leafs, they finished with 52 wins. They were on an absolute tear to end the season. However, I do have them on regression and or fraud watch, and there's a couple reasons why, but we're going to discuss it. First things first, though, let's take a look at the Ottawa Senators stats this season. Tim Stützle, 79 points in 82 games. He played every single game. Drake Batherson, terrific year for him, 68 points. Brady Tkachuk, 55 points, and he's going to be ready to go for game 1. He did miss some time after the Four Nations, but he is ready to go. 123 penalty minutes for Brady Tkachuk. He is going to be an absolute nuisance on the ice. He is going to annoy the crap out of Toronto's best players, and if you're Toronto, you got to stay out of it. Toronto's best chance of winning this series is to stay out of the muck. Stay out of Ottawa getting under your skin, because that's what Ottawa is going to try and do. They're going to try and throw Toronto off with some of their physicality, some of the pests that they have on the ice, and Ottawa also has a lot of offensive talent. Do they have game breakers like Toronto does, though? The Toronto Maple Leafs, we'll get to them, but you know, Ottawa has, I consider Tim Stützle to be a game breaker. He's someone that can take over games. Yes, he was below point per game, but he is a superstar in my opinion. And look at Claude Giroux, too. 50 points this season. Again, all these guys over 30, 35 years old just having great seasons. Dylan Cousins came over from Buffalo at the trade deadline. That was a terrific pickup. They got Zetterlund from San Jose as well. Another terrific pickup. Really underrated. If you take a look at their defensive core, Jake Sanderson had 57 points this season for Ottawa. Nice breakout campaign for him. He's one of my favorite players ever. One of my best friends hates how much I talk about Jake Sanderson. He is probably my favorite non-Oiler, non-Boston Bruin. I absolutely love Jake Sanderson. That -14 rating doesn't look great. Don't even worry about that. Thomas Chabot with 45 points, true number 1 pairing D-man there. And if you look at the goaltending, Linus Ullmark, a .910 save percentage this season, .272 goals against average. And then they also have Forsberg, also with a .272 GAA and a .901 save percentage. Now, speaking of game breakers, superstars, the Toronto Maple Leafs, look at the list of forwards they have. Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Austin Matthews, John Tavares with a resurgent season. He had 38 goals. Can you imagine? Are they going to re-sign John Tavares? How much do you think he gets? Because Mitch Marner is also a pending UFA as well. How much do you think Marner gets on the market? His first 100-point season as a Maple Leaf. Austin Matthews, bit of a down year. He missed a lot of time with some injury or illness. Not sure what was going on. He went over to Germany for some very specific treatments. I don't know what those treatments were for, but he does not have the same shooting that he's had in the past. Clearly, something has been ailing Matthews for a while. I think we saw that a little bit last year in the playoffs against Boston. He missed a couple games in that series. And for Austin Matthews, though, if he is near 100%, that is the guy to watch for the Leafs. He is their biggest game breaker in terms of being able to basically score from anywhere on the ice at will. The Leafs also picked up Lawton to be their third-line center at the deadline from Philly. And then on defense, they picked up Brandon Carlo from the Boston Bruins, much to my dismay as a Bruins fan. Morgan Riley led the way with 41 points. Oliver Ekman-Larsson had 29 points. They don't generate much from their back end. In fact, they generate very little. They're, I think, one of, if not the lowest scoring team from defensemen in the entire NHL. They have no true offensively gifted D-man other than Morgan Riley, who's probably arguably their best puck mover. And in goal, though, this is Toronto's bread and butter. It's been the goaltending this season. Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz have combined to give Toronto some incredible performances this season, led by Stolarz, who had a .926 save percentage and a .214 goals against average. He has been an absolute stud in net for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're going to need him to keep playing like that if they want a chance to win. Because, like I mentioned, Toronto's on fraud watch for me. Since February 1st, the Maple Leafs rank 30th in expected goals at 5-on-5. They rank 4th in PDO at 103.7. 19th in high danger chances for. They rank 28th in scoring chances for, and they rank 28th in shots for percentage. If you look at all those numbers, the Toronto Maple Leafs, if it was not for their high shooting percentage in the back half of the season and their unbelievable goaltending, the Leafs are likely in lottery conversation. This team, because of how good their game breakers are in Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, John Tavares, William Nylander, because they have that high-end talent, it masks the bigger problem with their team, which is their possession metrics. Their 5-on-5 play overall has not been good, and there's a lot of Leafs fans who have mentioned this, and they are concerned about it. They're still excited, and if you're a Leafs fan, you should be excited. This is a fun time of the year, whether the team wins or loses for both teams here, but there is very big concerns with their underlying numbers. A lot of similarities to that 2013 team that lost to Boston in round one. Yes, they forced a game 7, but that Toronto Maple Leafs team in 2013, that lockout shortened year, there was a lot of underlying issues with that team. A lot of the analytics nerds back then that I used to ignore. I love analytics now, but back then I was like, I'm not believing any of this. We'll see what happens here. The grand picture for Toronto, they are 9th on the power play, which is terrific. 17th on the penalty kill, not bad. They rank 7th in goals per game. That's great. Goals against per game ranks 8th. That is awesome. They rank 23rd in expected goals percentage on the entire season. They rank 6th in team shooting percentage and 5th in PDO. For the Toronto Maple Leafs, again, they're riding, I think, some unsustainable play right now, and can Ottawa slow that down? Can you get Toronto to regress a little bit here? Ottawa's done a great job at defending and limiting scoring chances against the Leafs all season long. We'll see what they got. The Ottawa Senators, they ranked 11th on the power play this year, 19th on the penalty kill, 18th in terms of goals per game, 13th in goals against per game. They rank 15th in expected goals, 24th in team shooting percentage, and 14th in PDO. So the Ottawa Senators, they're basically what they are. They are a middle-of-the-road team in almost every statistical category. If anything, they probably need more finishing talent. They need Stützle to score a little bit more. They need Dylan Cousins to open it up a little bit. For Ottawa, if they're going to have a chance against Toronto, can Ottawa's forwards find a way to break through enough against Toronto's goaltending? And of course, their defensive play as well. Toronto, it's a Craig Berube style system. I sadly had to watch that St. Louis Blues team beat the Bruins in 2019 when Berube was coaching them. The Bruins basically outshot and outchanced St. Louis throughout the whole series, but St. Louis found a way to win because they had goaltending and their defensemen are punishing. He has the Leafs playing a much more punishing system in front of the goaltender. They are good at boxing players out. Can Ottawa break through? And for Toronto, will they regress? Is this a regression for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Is it going to happen? What is the series going to turn into? My prediction for this series, I am going with the Ottawa Senators in 7 games. Now, why would I pick 7 games? Honestly, my brain and my heart says Ottawa in about 5, maybe 6, but I'm going 7 for the memes. I think losing in Game 7 for Toronto, as a Bruins fan, sorry, Leafs fans, I'm a hater right now. I love the memes of the Game 7 loss in the first round. Toronto has done it so many times. I just think it'd be funny. And I honestly do think Ottawa will come out on top in this series. I don't like the underlying metrics for Toronto at all. I don't trust them. I think they are on fraud watch. Sorry, Leafs fans, you're probably mad and upset with me, but that's just my opinion on that. Those are my Eastern Conference first round playoff previews and predictions. Please let me know what you thought in the comment section below. Let me know your own predictions as well. And we'll see you soon for the Western Conference preview predictions. And then, of course, the Oilers and Kings. That is going to be a separate video on its own. There's a lot to cover as an Oilers fan for that series, so keep an eye out on the channel for both of those on the way this weekend. I love all of you. Tell someone that you love them. And as always, fight like a kid, fight like Ben. Let's go Oilers. We'll see you soon.